Hi, this is Angela Santos. My birthday is 10/11/1976. My social security number is 419-06-3350. I'm out here in a tent at a place called Kilmulga Grist Mill. Pretty much facing death. I want to read you something. And everything that I say in this is true. And a lot of people knew this was going on and did nothing with me having disabilities, brain injuries, PTSD, and dying. The cops knew there was abuse going on. The cops knew about the affairs that were going on. Yet, nobody done anything. Pretty much, it's like an officer and a gentleman type situation. Where one group used my son's life and freedom over my head and wanted to remind me where my little brother was, which he's on death row. And another group was aware, which is the cops, that this was going on as well. The one group used my son against me and threatened my children's life. The cops, knowing every move I make, didn't do anything about any of it. They knew the abuse was happening. I was good enough to screw with the disabilities and brain injuries, but not good enough for them to put in a house or take back and forth to the doctor or send any money. The minute that I said my Medicaid was paying for all the surgeries, it was like, well, screw her. Medicaid's paying. But when you're on Medicaid, you have to list every incident, accident, every form of abuse, which means, in turn, the state picks it up. So, with that being said, in my opinion, if the cops knew abuse was going on with disabilities and head injuries, they are just as guilty. It is sad that we are good enough to screw, but not good enough to protect. They use you for your info and then act like you're nothing. Well, here's your list of abusers that started covering their ass before I ever turned them in. Alexander City Police, Elmore County Sheriff's Department, Houston County Sheriff's Department. Several affairs took place years ago. Here's a list of those. But before I begin, let me tell you that one of my major head injuries occurred in Alan Henderson's house and was reported to Donald Valenza through email. Frank, a mutual friend of Alan Henderson's, tackled me so hard in their house that resulted in one of the injuries, or however you want to word that. But the guy won't help me at all with any of these needs during this time. In my opinion, if the cops have to take in the contributors and the men who abused me because of Medicaid, I feel that some of the authorities be taken in as well. I feel the Hendersons should take responsibility too, but they will not. So here's a list of people that contributed with either money, drugs, or abuse to these injuries. David Long with Dothan City Police Department. L.C. Jones, which is a counselor in Houston County. He runs a counseling service with a lot of referrals from Houston County. He contributed to the brain injuries. William Fred Tankersley, who acted like he was a U.S. Marshal when I met him, because I had this thing for cops and doctors and stuff, okay? So there's William Fred Tankersley, who contributed to brain injuries. He goes by Jack Tankersley. Chris Porter, basketball player, played in Korea. Mario Hodge, Elliott City Police, knew that Shane Hodge was abusing me with disabilities and brain injury. I also instructed Shane Hodge to erase a Chromebook with child pornography on it, which triggered my PTSD, being that I was abused as a child. Back to my affair with Alan Henderson, where a major head injury took place. When I reported some of this to him, I was told to erase stuff, or as I was trying to reach out and ask for help and throw hints, I would post certain stuff on Facebook, because if something happened to me, at least my kids or somebody would know what was going on. Well, I was told to take it off. He didn't need issues. Being that my Medicaid is paying for these, I reached out to several people, because I'm in a tent out here with no ride. People from the camping grounds take me to my doctor's appointments and take me to get food and stuff. Well, my unemployment was cut off last week. I've given the police permission to arrest all the people that have contributed to these injuries, which means dope dealers, people that abuse me, and all that. They even have rights and releases on my medical records. The sad thing is that I just had a hysterectomy, which has nothing to do with this, but one of the medications that I need that reduces the prolactin in my system, the medicine that I need for that, I can't take it because of the brain injuries and fluid on my brain. So next thing that the tumors are going to start taking is my breast. So the only option is putting 2 tubes in my ears, a brain shunt, that will remove some of the fluid. But every time I go in for a surgery or they put me up under anesthesia, there's a chance I could die because of the brain injury. I was very lucky through this hysterectomy. However, they only kept me 3 hours. I'm in severe pain now. Not one of these cops has appreciated the fact that I chose to let Medicaid pick it up instead of going after them. Not one of them. Not one of these cops took the threats on my children's life serious. And the threat was if I turned in a list of people that contributed to these injuries, that my family members one at a time would disappear. The video that I posted already on YouTube is that list that Medicaid needed. Not one of those people helped me. Not one. And the cops knew the whole time that abuse was going on with these disabilities and brain injuries. There is releases at Dr. Hamo's office, Miss Tammy's office. My complaint with this is that the cops had my permission to prosecute. Medicaid is paying the bills. However, I shouldn't be out here in the tent. I was good enough for those cops to screw, and I was good enough to know their business, and I'm good enough to share their business, but not good enough to help. And that's not right. That's not right at all. Every day that they leave me in this tent, Mr. Dubose or whoever, is a day closer that I am to dying. Several cops were involved. Not one of them done anything to help me. The state has to pay the bills regardless, so by law, I had to turn in every incident and accident. The police knew where I was and what was going on. And that I've hinted several times that I needed help. But like I said, I was told to erase it because they don't need issues. Well, I don't need to die either. But I'm going to. Doug Valeska. I was told, okay. Also in Houston County, Doug Valeska out of Houston County allowed Robin Tilley to set up a scheme where she had me act like Melissa Floyd on tape. Robin Tilley gets out of jail and leaves me and my brother there. He goes to death row, Robin gets out, and I stay in jail. I was very young and naive. I really thought it would help my brother. I've lost my brother, I've lost my whole family and everything, and I'm out here in a tent with head injuries that happen in some of these cops' houses. Some of these brain injuries are consistent with the use of methamphetamine and physical abuse. Everything is noted and accounted for in the MRIs, EEGs, and everything. I feel that if those guys have to go to jail, then some of the cops should be put up under investigation. I struggle every day to live. And the officials that are involved would not even help me get to doctor's appointments or put me in a place to live. And Mr. Dubose or whoever this is that's watching this, I feel this is wrong. I was good enough to sleep with them. I was good enough to know their business. And these injuries and disabilities are not going away. They're getting worse. They won't help me with a ride. They won't help me with a house. Nor did they offer me safe housing while they made all these arrests. I'm hereby requesting that this be picked up by the feds and be placed in a safe home and a ride to doctor's appointments. The envelope that I sent to you is why my family's life was threatened. Elliott City Police was aware of the threat, and so was Houston County. Someone even reported me for posting the picture of it. The one group that's on the first list was threatening me with my family. I've been married into the military. I've been married into cop family. I have 6 children and grandchildren, and every threat on their life was dismissed like I'm some dopehead. But that list is why they were threatening my family, Mr. Dubose. Every one of them knew that I had these affairs with the cops, and the cops would take my side because the cops don't want to pay for these injuries. And those other people knew that. So did Hendrickson. My affairs with them and with these doctors is why that other group was intimidated by me, Mr. Bose. There's this thing about tormenting, torturing, and abusing somebody with disabilities. That's where a lot of my family comes in, and some of the cops. There is a law against abusing somebody with disabilities. I feel that if the cops was allowing that to happen, they're just as guilty. I know that my daughter and son was involved. I knew that a couple of my cousins were involved. I knew that a lot of them was taking out vendettas and doing tormenting stuff because they didn't want Mario exposed. Which Mario hasn't done anything personally wrong to me. He was conned by his little brother. I believe there's a lot of little vigilante work going on, a lot of tormenting stuff. I know how it goes. I've been with cops, judges, and I've been in jail. I've walked every walk of life there is. That doesn't make me any less of a person. That is why the cops should have took me under their wings and put me in safe housing weeks ago. When I started going to these doctor's appointments, they knew that I knew what was up, and they still didn't help me. And I don't think it's fair that while they're living in comfort because they got a lot of their wives, and they didn't take the threat serious, I don't think it's fair that I disappear and die out here and have to ask these people to give me rides for free. My unemployment got cut off last week. I got over $300,000 more worth of operations and doctor appointments coming up, and not one of these cops, TJ, Mario, Allen, Valenza, Smith, none of them, Quincy Reynolds knew I had a head injury. None of them has offered me a ride, food, a house, anything. The list has already been turned in for the people that contributed to the abuse, to the injuries, and not one of them has offered to help me one time. Not one. I was told they didn't need issues. Well, I believe now y'all got some. Thanks.